Hello, Denise. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And yes, I am in Australia. It is a fairly normal hour of the day for me at the moment with a little one. It is 4:56 a.m. So I am here and coffee in hand and we're gonna run. So it's lovely to be here, and I'm gonna share my screen so that I can get started. So just give me 5 seconds and I'm just going to ask for a quick thumbs up to make sure that you can indeed see this presentation. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So hello everyone, and thank you for that introduction. As Denise said, I'm Shivani Gopel. I'm the founder and CEO of The Remarkable Woman. It's an edtech organization, and it's a company that works tirelessly to empower the lives of women personally, professionally, and financially. And the reason why I started this company is genuinely rooted in my own personal story. In fact, it's really funny. Usually when I do a talk, I'm often introduced as the remarkable woman herself. And that's interesting because whilst that's wonderful and it's my aspiration for all women to feel remarkable as we rightfully should, I didn't certainly always feel remarkable. I didn't always feel unstoppable, confident, and powerful. And I didn't always feel worthy. And I know how limiting that can be. So my goal in spending time with you today is to share a few of my stories with you so that if you ever feel that way, maybe you can learn from my insights and hopefully be inspired to also live a fully expressed life. Because for me, at least as a little girl, that is how my journey started. Without knowing it, I did want to live a fully expressed life. Growing up, I wanted to be all of the things and I wanted to do all of the things. And I know that that sentence doesn't really make much sense, but try telling 10-year-old Shivani that and she would have set you straight. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to run a restaurant. I wanted to be a psychologist, all of those things at once. It never occurred to me that you probably should do one career at a time. Reason was out the window because 10-year-old Shivani was a force on fire. There was no way that you could tell me what to do. I was far too passionate, far too headstrong, and I already knew my rights. Now, that's not to say that people didn't try. They certainly did. And I know that, women at large experience this. I certainly experienced it from a community lens. I grew up in a highly patriarchal Indian community who had values that were highly upheld. And these values were that women are at their best when they play small. And so I was consistently encouraged by aunties and uncles to play small, to play nice, to be quiet, to be seen, but not to be heard, and certainly not argue. And obviously that didn't work out too well for them because, as you can see, I certainly, am not all that quiet. So without even realizing it, I became a crusader for the rights of women and girls. And I kept asking, if boys can do that, then why can't girls do it? And if boys can do it, then girls can do it too. And I kept thinking as a young girl, gee, there must be some kind of physical ailment that women must have somewhere. There has to be something lacking. Why is it that I keep getting these messages that I can't do it because I'm a girl? In fact, the sentence would stop there. Why can't I? Because, full stop. And I thought, is there something lacking in our brains? And that thought was there with me. And of course, life happened and I forgot about it. Until I grew up and I became an avid learner, and I used to download all sorts of things, podcasts and audio lessons. And I came across podcasts on the brain, and of course I was listening to this really intently because I was really obsessed with self-improvement and the brain. And so I started doing some research on the amount of neurons that humans have, and I was really interested to discover that men have 86 billion neurons. And so I thought, well, gee, I wonder how many neurons women have. And you'll never believe it, ladies, it's 86 billion neurons, right? It's crazy, isn't it? We have exactly the same amount of neurons, and yet we're constantly told or given these messages that we are lacking in some way without any real reason why. And it gave me some powerful lessons on the socialization of women and how we absorb these messages without even realizing it. Early on in my journey, as I said, I felt like a force. I felt like I could challenge status quo. And then eventually life happened. And I think this happens for so many of us. Life happens and it gets to us. And it's through those kicks and punches that we need to be so conscious of how we're going to lift ourselves up and keep going. One of those kicks and punches for me was, again, one of those institutionalized messages of shame and ambition. I'll never forget, I was 20 years old. I had just been recruited for my first dream job. It was a financial advisor position. I had studied really hard and worked on the overtime and graduated with my master's degree rather early. And I had told my recruiter, Kevin, thank you so much for recruiting me in this position. I am just so excited. I just want to let you know that I'm going to work so hard and I want to do such a great job because I want to be the best financial advisor there is in Sydney. And I said it with so much gusto. And I remember, when he called me to say, you've got the job. And it was one of those moments where I kept sort of, checking my phone to see if he was going to call. And when he called and I was over the moon, he said, hey, Shivani, just a piece of advice. Probably wouldn't go around telling everyone that you want to be the best financial advisor in Sydney. It's not really the best message. And he certainly didn't tell me why, but he left that lingering message with me. And it was one that really affected my confidence because I couldn't figure out why I shouldn't share my ambitions with someone. Why was that such an unpalatable thing to do? Yet the message was internalized that ambition is a shameful thing, that I shouldn't be sharing what it is that I want to be and who it is that I want to be. And it was messages like that that really started to impact my sense of self. And it really had the impact of me stopping to sing my own internal song. And it was not just experiences like that, but also another life-defining experience for me, which was, me having a boyfriend, as many people do, when we're in high school or a girlfriend. And for me, it was having a boyfriend and being caught by an auntie at a local shopping centre. And I'll never forget the moment. I was leaning on his shoulder and we were going down the escalators and there was my auntie going up the escalators and our eyes met and I thought, oh shoot, my life is going to change. This is not good. I mean, the inner monologue was a little bit different, but I'm sure you get the message of what I really thought. And lo and behold, that encounter really did change my life because, whilst I was with my dear boyfriend, both our families met and it was very quickly decided that, having a boyfriend, having a girlfriend so early on in life was a rather shameful thing to do. It wasn't the thing that should be done. And given that we both came from good families, it was probably the best thing to do that we get married. And so we did. And what ensued was a result of a crushing of my ambition, not overnight, but just slowly and surely through these regular messages of, you need to be a really good housewife. You need to wake up early and iron your husband's shirts. You need to wake up early and make sure that he has breakfast. And you need to put his needs first and your in-laws' needs first before your own. And so before you know it, you have a really soul-crushing experience. Before you know it, for me, I was a strong, independent, educated woman, and I was actually by then a successful financial advisor as I started to grow up and become an adult. But slowly through those processes, I didn't even realize that I was also experiencing financial abuse. I didn't realize it when I would come home and see my bank statements open. I certainly didn't realize it when I would come home and be told that I needed to contribute X amount of money to my in-laws' family because of how much money I earned, because it was known, because my statements were open. And it's these sort of messages that happen when life starts getting to you and it stops you from singing your song. For me, my emancipation was a long and drawn out one, but it was one that was enabled when I was sitting on a bus crying to a girlfriend and telling her all of the reasons why I couldn't possibly leave this marriage. Despite how unhappy I was, I couldn't possibly do it because of all of the shame that would be bestowed upon myself and my family and my community, because divorce isn't something that you do. It's just a huge no-no. And she was the kind of friend that thought, look, if you're going to talk about problems, I should probably give you an additional problem as well, just to make sure that you've considered everything. And she said, Shivani, not only that, but how are you going to afford to leave? I've got so many girlfriends who simply cannot afford to leave their partners. And I remember that was a very powerful, very visceral moment for me, because I was doing that ugly cry that sometimes you've just got to do, right? It's really therapeutic. You're crying, you're heaving, there's snot, there's tears, it's all happening. And yes, I was on a bus that everyone could see and everyone was really uncomfortable, but I was just going hell for leather. And I remember that moment because I just stopped and I sucked up all of the tears and all of the snot. And I remember kind of just going and just kind of doing this. And I said, yeah, money is not a problem. My in-laws, are certainly, very assertive in how much money they get me to contribute. But money is not a problem. I earn my own money. I know how to manage my money. I'm going to be okay financially. And it was only when I said those words, I'm going to be okay financially, did I realize that I had my life raft to freedom, that if no one supported me, I could support me. And that was my enablement. That enabled me to get out and find my voice, and to live my own life. And it was through that healing process that I realized that I could be my own self. And there's this wonderful exercise that we do in the Remarkable Woman, and we really focus on being holistic in empowering women. And we do a lot of work on finding your why. We do a lot of work on financial tools and being financially empowered, because of course it made me realize that I could be independent as a result. And through all of this work and much of the work around being self-aware, I realized that I had to forge my own purpose statement. And so I reflected on some of those most challenging experiences of my life, but as well as the most beautiful beacon experiences of my life. The childhood, the 10-year-old Shivani, who was a force on fire, but slowly got quashed through her experiences. And I realized that my purpose statement and my why was to live a fully expressed life, and to be fearless in the pursuit of a greater tomorrow, with courage in my heart and compassion in my veins. And I live by that statement now so staunchly, because it enables me to continually move forward. One of the ways that I did that was through being rooted in self-awareness, because I realized something through this experience. I realized that without being self-aware, we end up getting information about ourselves from other people. And those other people don't always have the best of intentions for us. Sometimes because of malice. In my case, it was malice. In my case, it was this emotional and financial abuse that I was going through in my previous marriage. And sometimes it was people being unaware and unenlightened, like this recruiter who told me, you probably shouldn't share your ambitions. In his eyes, he was trying to do the right thing for me. He was trying to give me helpful advice. The problem with people like that is they can only ever support you and encourage you to the extent that they've had the courage to support and encourage themselves to pursue their dreams. And so without your own self-awareness, I find that you're as vulnerable as a tree in the middle of a storm, because you are getting information about yourself and what you should do through other people, as opposed to going, what drives me? What lights up my fire? How can I really fulfill myself personally from a work perspective, from a soulful perspective, and really build that up. And so, through that awareness, I fused all of that into the Remarkable Woman, to make sure that not just myself, but everyone that I work with is able to have that sense of clarity to really move forward. So that is my why and my sense of purpose. I just want to share one more quick story around resilience, because I've only got 2 more minutes, and that is, when I first became a financial advisor, again, I had these shameful messages of ambition, but I did seek out a mentor, and I did everything that I could to put myself in a position where I would be accepted as a mentee. I did all the research that I possibly could do, and I reached out to a mentor who I'm going to call Warren, and I said, Warren, you're the best in the industry. Your clients invite you to their weddings and their children's christenings and their housewarmings, and I would love to learn from you. Even though I'm already qualified, I'd love to be your assistant just for a little while, just so I can learn from you. And his message was, come back if you're still around in 10 years' time. You're far too young. His actual words were, you're far too young and too pretty, to be honest. And I have no idea what that has to do with the price of fish, but apparently for him it did. And in my head, I thought, I'll show you. And I carried on. And again, my message is, for anyone who's ever been rejected, for their ambition or for wanting to seek help, carry on, but be rooted in your own sense of self-awareness. Because again, not everyone will have the best of intentions for you, but you will have the best of intentions for yourself. And doing the work, you'll find that the answers are right there with you. So I think that's all the time that I have for you. But it would be wonderful to connect. If you have any questions, here is my phone number, my email address, and of course the website for The Remarkable Woman, in case you would like to join us and join the story.